Hey gang, I got an offer for you today from LinkedIn. As business-to-business marketers, your needs are unique. B2B buying cycles are long and your customers face incredibly complex decisions. Isn't it time you had a marketing platform built specifically for you? LinkedIn ads empower marketers with solutions for you and your customers. LinkedIn ads allow you to build the right relationships, drive results, and reach your customers in a respectful environment. On LinkedIn, you have direct access to build relationships with decision makers. Of the 875 million users on the network, 180 million are senior level executives. 10 million are C-level executives. You will also be able to drive results with targeting and measuring with their tools built specifically for B2B. And best of all, they work. Audiences exposed to brand messages on LinkedIn are 6 times more likely to convert. LinkedIn ads also rank number 1 for security, community, and ad experience as part of the Business Insider's Digital Trust Study. Make B2B marketing everything it can be and get a $100 credit. It's a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. It's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply. Entrepreneurs Enigma is a podcast for the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. So the wins and the fails that we all face being entrepreneurs, and how we learn from adversity. Every week I talk to a different entrepreneur with a story to tell. I'm Seth Goldstein. Come with me on the journey. This is Entrepreneurs Enigma. Let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneurs Enigma podcast. I'm Seth, as you all know by now, and I am here with a good buddy of mine. I've known Brian for, I don't know, a decade now, some insane amount of time that's been way too long. I've known him for a very long time. And he's a good guy. I do bust his chops here and there, and he busts my chops. But Brian is a consummate entrepreneur in the design space. He does great graphic design. He does great web design. He knows a thing or two about marketing as well. I have used him on some Goldstein media projects as well. So I can vouch for him, people. Hey, Brian, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Seth. And you're kind of chief ball buster, international or something
International.
like that.
Ooh, I'm international now. Wow, that's awesome, buddy. That's great.
Yeah, I can actually remember we met at a late December 2010
Wow.
networking event, an ultimate networking event. Remember those?
Oh, those things with Tom Camarda. Yeah.
Yeah, and in like a steakhouse, and
Oh yeah, at Union Trust Steakhouse.
yeah, something like that. And I
Yeah, I
remember
remember.
meeting you quickly. And at one point, somebody introduced me to some woman who was like a therapist. And she came up and she was looking for some design work. And she came up, I'll be honest with you, it was a little bit crazy.
Oh, that's
And
interesting. Yeah.
and I just was like, I don't know about this. And I go, what about that guy who said he was a web designer who I just met?
There you go. So let's
So
refer him over to me. Who was that? I don't
it's
know
like,
who.
I figured I think I would dump off on you, potential crazy prospect, and not do it myself.
And we've been friends ever since.
Of course, we managed
Oh,
to dump crazy people on each other occasionally.
exactly. And so then you got me in Power Match, which is sort of like what people now know as like Lunch Club. So you got me in Power Match back in the day. That was in the Delaware Valley, where people meet up with 3 people in person. Imagine that.
I know, in-person
And
networking. I was just telling somebody about it. It sounds almost like mythical.
I know because and Lunch Club is pretty cool, but I haven't done Lunch Club in a while either. It's just like random networking.
I got
It's
kicked out
fun.
of the lunch club.
Only you could figure out a way to get kicked out of Lunch Club, but we won't go into that. So, Brian, how did all this craziness get started?
Oh, I got fired. I got
Oh,
fired from a job. I got a little bit too cozy at a Yellow Pages company. If anybody remembers Yellow Pages,
what was Yellow Pages?
got a little too
Wow.
cozy with some of my friends who I was having. My job at the time was to do design work, to do like high end ads for Yellow Pages,
Oh.
and
For those who don't know, those are books that would get thrown on your step, and that you would use
they
to
were like
prop up
this
your
big.
kids. They won't see that, Brian. This is an
Oh,
audio
okay.
only podcast. But you looking at to describe what Brian so eloquently displayed is maybe like a 4 or 5 inch thick paper book for those Gen Zers out there that have no idea what a Yellow Page is or a phone book is, full of phone numbers of people. You could look up someone's phone number and call them. Imagine that.
Yeah, they were. Um, Yeah, they were big honking books, and
Yeah.
I don't know, it got a little too comfortable. You know me, I like to drop F bombs when I'm
Yeah,
casually talking
you got
with
a little too
friends.
comfortable, and somebody didn't like it.
Somebody didn't like it, and they escorted me out the door on September 17th,
Oh,
to
wow, you
2010.
not that you don't remember the date or anything.
No, not at all. So, yeah, so I went through a period of, it was a little bit of a dark period, because when you suddenly lose a job and you have credit card payments and stuff like that, a little bit tough to get through. I was about to jump back into just getting a job. I got left off on go on a Friday. I think on Monday I was down at the remember Borders
Oh,
that
yeah.
doesn't exist anymore. I was down at the Borders in the town that I worked in, buying like a stack of program books to kind of beef up on so I can go get another job. And a friend of mine,
Yeah.
um, a guy named Chris Owens, who we both know, said, "Why are you doing that?" He'd been freelance since 2009 as a web designer. He goes, why don't you just go out on your own?" I've
Yeah,
hated him ever
what a
since.
thought, Yeah, what?
And so I've hated Chris ever since for that. That's it. That's a joke,
Yeah.
but he and I are still good friends. And yeah, that I went down the route of being a graphic designer for a while, and I found that would be a little bit tough because you spend about the same amount of time trying to sell a logo into the same amount of time that it takes about to sell a website.
Exactly.
I would give his referrals off to friends who were web designers, those clients who needed that work, and I'd be the one who was putting in all the time, to develop them as a
Uh-huh.
client, get paid $400 for a logo, and that
Yeah.
friend would go off and make 1,000 or $1,500 off them was a website. And I'd be like, hey, after about the fourth time that happens.
You're right, man, like, there's something else to venture into. Exactly, everything evolves. We're gonna take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and get right back to the show.
Hey there, it's Jason Falls. If your company or maybe one of your clients sells to marketers, you look for advertising channels that guarantee business marketers are paying attention, right? Let me introduce you to the Marketing Podcast Network. You're listening to it right now. It's a network of podcasts all about marketing. So 100% of MPN's audience are marketers. Reach them by advertising on the Marketing Podcast Network. Learn more and find our media kit at marketingpodcasts.net.
So then I became a WordPress guy like you.
Yeah.
And that's still a major part of my cornerstone of my business is just doing really awesome CMS WordPress websites. Then I got a certain idea at a point where, um, yeah, I've been introduced to Tom Burton, who is
Mhm.
the,
We've had him on the
uh,
podcast.
yeah,
Tom Burns a great guy, yeah.
yeah, Tom Burton of the Spark Technologies and what's this book, The Revenue Design.
Yeah.
I ended up doing a project with him in the summer of 2015. So by about 2016, I started to get this idea in my head that internet marketing was a thing.
Things come in evolutionary ways. Like you start, you have to start somewhere. Some people start in the
Yeah,
digital marketing side and go into web design. Some people start in, like I started in web design, then I went into SEO, then I went into digital marketing. Gradually, things grow. So I'm knocking you here, but really, things don't know what you don't know. Essentially, is what it
yeah.
is.
It's a pretty natural evolution. And I find
It
that
is.
having a design eye while also being a marketer is
Yeah.
actually really important because
Oh my god.
I've even seen marketer websites. Like I met with somebody yesterday who's from Wisconsin. Would love to work with her possibly on some social media projects, but her website's terrible. But I think what's great is that there's like a natural synergy between the internet marketing stuff. The I'm really have a talent for just to pat myself on the back on things like messaging, customer
Yeah.
avatars.
I can vouch for
Um,
that. You're actually rather good, surprisingly.
thank you. And like these things have a really good mesh together,
Mhm.
knowing design, knowing web design, knowing branding, all these things work well together in a small business context because
Absolutely,
a
yeah.
lot of small businesses don't have the money to go to a branding agency and then to go to a marketing agency and then to hire a designer and so on.
And then a coder, and then yeah, people can do it
Yeah.
ad hoc, or they can go get an agency that does it all. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What is the best thing about being an entrepreneur?
Freedom overall. Just
Yeah.
freedom. I like the fact that I get to choose the direction that I go in.
Mm.
And I'm as right now, I'm rethinking a few things about my business to make it a little bit more stable.
But
So
you're
like
able
on
to do
once,
that,
but
though.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm able to do it without like one of the things you mentioned, I had some agency experience for about 2.5 years, quit for a little bit, don't crush your fingers at me. It's okay. I quit,
Yeah.
got a regular job for a couple of years just to get a little
Yeah.
bit of financial stability and I had a few too many clients paying me 8 weeks late. So I decided to get a
Ugh,
job. And in 2018 to 2020, quit in the middle of the pandemic. And
I remember that
um,
day. I don't remember it
that
exactly, but I
was
remember you
a,
called me up and you're like, "I'm out on my own again." I'm like, "Oh, this is even messier than 2008." It was a financial crisis, and that's when
yeah,
I
yeah,
started
yeah.
Goldstein Media, which was like, but a lot of people did
Oh,
it. But I also feel like a lot of people in downturns, people go out on their own. Like you leave because I guess there is no stability. So you're like, well, if there's no stability, I'm going to do my own thing where there's no stability, but I'm in control.
exactly. What I was running into at the time, and it's funny, I don't want to sound like I'm bad mouthing my old boss because there was plenty to bad mouth at the time, but he and I have actually become friends again. So like we've been in touch in the last like 5 or 6
Sometimes
days.
a divorce is a good thing for the sake of the relationship.
Oh, 100%.
And that's the thing. So, Brian, what is the worst thing about being an entrepreneur? What keeps you up at night?
Oh, money.
Well,
100%
plain and
money.
simple, that's what it is. Because everything else is positive. You get to do everything you want when you want. It's just the money flow.
It's the money flow. It's
Yeah.
if you don't have it set up, and this is what I'm still in the middle of getting a little bit of stability on. And this
Yeah.
is why I said I'm kind of changing some directions on some things that I'm doing is
Have to
it's always kind of looking for that thing that's going to give you like passive income. Um,
Mhm.
like, okay, well, if I could find these white label services and they do this, and if I sell these to 15 of my customers, I can make the rent, like, and then everything's going to be good and I can go on a vacation this year, like
Imagine that, right?
there's always there's always kind of a unicorn that you end up chasing, looking for that stability.
The elusive unicorn. So what is the most important thing to carry with you all the time?
Geez, my phone. Having that thing on me all the time, obviously, but I'm pretty sure that you probably hear that from just about any
You'd be surprised.
entrepreneur.
I do hear phone, but also like mentally. Like what's the most important thing that you carry with you all the time mentally?
Oh, geez. I mean, I'm fine to say mentally, probably, yeah, a couple of things. Probably one, just a basic understanding of human behavior and being able to direct communication. It always helps when somebody gets off topic on a conversation, which, you and
Wait,
I
we
are
don't know what
probably
that's about.
you and I are probably the kings of rambling
Mhm.
and getting off on tangents and being able to bring a
But some
person
of but
back.
some of those tangents is where the gold is. And people are like, "Oh,
Oh,
you
yeah,
went on a tangent." But like, did you learn something?
true. And the other side of it is that a few years ago, I did a Y finding. If you don't know what that is, it's Simon Sinek, with his
Yeah. Oh,
2008
why
book.
finding? I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Simon Sinek with his 2008 book, Start with Why, and then he had
Yeah.
a follow up by a couple of his employees that was called Find Your Why. And
Yeah.
I had someone help me do a Y finding out
A
of
why
that. And
finding. I
so
like
in
that.
knowing what I'm about,
Yeah.
know why I do it and what those how statements are that come with your why statement helps a lot because
It does.
then I
Yeah.
know ultimately what is it that makes me happy and what it
Mhm.
is that I do best.
So
What,
valuable. It's so valuable
yeah.
to know that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause then like, okay, well, what am I best suited to? Like I'm best
Mhm.
suited to as a marketer with stuff that it is sitting down and talking with people.
So, Brian, where can people find you online? What's your main watering hole?
My main watering hole, well, my website is bstrongmarketing.com. B is
I
just the
like
letter
that.
B, strongmarketing.com. I spent a lot of time on LinkedIn to just look me up, just the name Brian Griffiths. I also spent a little bit of time. I know nobody seems to respect the site, but alignable.com.
You're the
Small.
you, you're the king of alignable. Like you've got a lot out there. Where I look at it, I'm like, I can't do much there.
I will tell you what, I cannot seem to get a single person out of LinkedIn. I have a lot of friends at
Well, that's the
LinkedIn. I get
thing.
a lot of,
I get lots of leads from LinkedIn. I've worked LinkedIn like crazy, and LinkedIn's the place I'm excelling at. But Alignable, I'm like, they're too small.
you need to do a LinkedIn course or something like that because I cannot get anybody out of LinkedIn. But I will tell you
No,
what,
it's
I don't.
definitely a long haul. It's definitely a long
Yeah,
haul. It's
I've been
you meet
hauling.
somebody in real life, but you meet someone in real life, you connect with them on LinkedIn, and then you put good content out, which is what you do constantly on LinkedIn. And you never
Yeah,
know what's going to come around. You might actually get people from LinkedIn, and not know that you got them from LinkedIn because you actually are friends with them
sure.
elsewhere. So you might have gotten someone from LinkedIn that was like the reason why they contacted you, kind of thing. So
Yeah, yeah, I get you.
Brian, this has been so much fun. Always a
Yeah.
pleasure talking to you and hanging out and all that. We got to do beers sometime soon. So
Or make you buy me sandwiches.
I'll buy you sandwiches. Sounds good. All right, Brian. Thanks
All
for
right,
being on,
great
my
talk.
friend.
All right.
We'll see everyone next week.
That was a great show. Hey, if you're enjoying Entrepreneurs Enigma, please give us a review on the podcast directory of your choice. We're on all of them. And these reviews really help others find the show. Also, if you're getting value from the show and want to buy me a coffee, go to the show notes and click on the link to help me stay awake while I bring you more great episodes to your ears. That's in the show notes, and I look forward to the next episode. Take care, guys. Goldstein Media hopes you have enjoyed this episode. This podcast is one of the many great shows on the MPN Marketing Podcast Network.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Christopher Hines hosts a great podcast called Pod Central. Chris, tell us what these fine folks will get when they listen.
We help you launch, grow, or monetize your podcast. We even help those podcast business owners out there grow their agencies and get more clients. This is a place where you come to learn everything podcasting.
Wow. Where can people subscribe?
Search for the podcast wherever you listen to your shows, or find me on Twitter at Chris Podcasting, and I can send it to you directly.
Or go to marketingpodcasts.net. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.